Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mountain State Films and Tunes. This is our duo series where me, Dillon McCarty, the social media manager and film critic of Mountain State Films and Tunes, talks about movies with J.R. Bennett, the co-founder and music writer of Mountain State Films and Tunes. Today we're going to talk about the future of Tarantino. Of course, his movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood just came out. We both really enjoyed it, and we're big Tarantino fans. But what does the future hold for Tarantino? What is he going to do? We're going to talk about potential options, or we're going to list them, and then we're going to give our pick for what we'd like to see him tackle. Now, we should say this. Just because we list these picks, they have been reported in the past, but that doesn't mean that they're legitimately going to happen. This is just kind of what we know, or what we could scrounge together in our research. So, Rob, I think the future is... it's going to be interesting to see what he does, because he says that he's going to stop at 10 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, according to him, since Kill Bill is one big movie, we got one more left now after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And our options here, we have Star Trek, Kill Bill Volume 3. We have the Killer Crow movie, which he had talked about doing, where I was telling you that it was like connected to Inglourious Basterds, but he cut it out. And it dealt with African-American soldiers kind of fighting their way through World War II to get to safety, from what I've heard. We have a 1930s gangster movie that he said he always wanted to do, which would be interesting because that would be a throwback to the classic movies of the 30s, you know, like the original Scarface and stuff like that. And then we have Django, the Django and Zorro crossover, which was announced, I believe, earlier this year. And they didn't mention anything about Tarantino developing it, but... people were going to develop it, and I assumed that maybe if it was good enough, maybe he would sign on to it.
Mm-hmm.
What out of these movies, what would you be most interested in him tackling?
Out of all of them,
Yeah.
I would like to see him do another action movie. A Zorro and Django connection would be good. Because from where they're both westerns and they both fit in the same field, that would be really great to see. Another option that I would really like to see, and he's never discussed it, but I would still like to see him tackle it, would be the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I would like to see another one of those made off of that story.
Yeah.
Because
like similar, kind of the similar beats and a similar kind of underdog story.
Kind of picked up where it left off, and I would just like to see him try to tackle that and see what can be done.
Out of the other, that would be interesting. It'd be cool to see that type of underdog story. A man who is, kind of bitten hard by life, and all he has is his sport. Out of those other choices, so you would be on the side of Django and Zorro, like would that be your top one?
Yeah.
What about the Killer Crow story with the African-American soldiers being in World War II? Because I know you're a big war guy. You like the war movies. Would that, if he came out and said, I want to do that...
That would be one of my top two options.
Oh, wow. See, for me, I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm actually for him doing Star Trek. Now, I'm a big Star Trek fan. I'm a Trekkie fan. Not a lot of people know that, but I love Star Trek. Yeah. I prefer it over Star Wars, and I really like Star Wars. And I've enjoyed the last three Star Trek movies. I thought J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movie in 2009 was really good. Yeah. I mean, it's not Wrath of Khan, but what is,
Yeah.
I thought Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto did a great job of channeling William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy's original characters. Yeah. Like, not only were they playing iconic characters, but they were playing, like, kind of mimicking those characters play their original characters. And I thought the story was interesting. Like, I really enjoyed the movie a lot. Star Trek Into Darkness tried to recycle too much of Wrath of Khan, which irritated me, because you don't need to do that. And Star Trek Beyond was a lot of fun, even though J.J. Abrams wasn't signed on to it. Or it wasn't directing it anyway. I think that the Trek franchise needs a really fresh... If they can get a director of the magnitude of Tarantino, it's going to be really interesting. And they've said, Star Trek's going to be rated R. And I've heard it's going to show the horror of space, which makes sense because space is a scary place.
It kind of. The thing with Star Trek is back then it was big.
Mm-hmm.
Back when William Shatner and all that bunch was doing it, it was big back then, and it kind of showed a blind eye. A lot of people back then turned a blind eye to it, but it kind of showed what the future holds technology wise.
Yeah.
And that's what Star Trek relates into today's society is the technology aspect
Yes.
of it. And I actually think if Tarantino does that, then he could really do some damage with it, like do some really good stuff with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how he'll handle that. And also too, with the scared tactics of space. Space is one thing that really gets you thinking.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it really gets you wondering. Like Star Trek, more based on technology wise. Star Wars, if you look at it from a certain standpoint, you can actually sit back and wonder, what if this is actually a true event taking place right now?
Like, what if it's happening?
Like, what if this is actually happening
on another side of the
right
universe
now that scientists isn't discovering?
It only seems fitting. Tarantino has made two westerns, so he's dealt with the frontier. It only seems fitting. Make a Star Trek movie and deal with the final frontier, space.
Exactly.
I think,
And with our outer space can go on for light years and decades and all that, it kind of makes you wonder what all exactly is out there.
sure.
Because every time you hear about outer space, you're always hearing scientists going, "Hey, we're wondering if there's life on Mars. Oh, this happened. Oh, maybe there's life here." And it's
Yeah.
just like, this is everyday news. Give us something different besides Mars.
Yeah, and you think Star Trek could push the envelope with that?
I
Really
think
get
they
our
really
minds
could, yeah.
racing.
I would think that, number one, they could point out, hey, there's more planets than just Mars out here.
Not only, oh, for sure.
More
What-
planets than Mars.
I love Star Trek. Well, number one, Kirk and Spock are just iconic, and Shatner and Nimoy playing them was unbelievable.
Exactly.
And they'll always live on. And even after, like, sadly, Leonard Nimoy passed away, but they'll always live on, And I love those characters. I love the world they set up to where it is a very hopeful future where people come together. And they are able to actually go out into space. And you notice, like, with the Enterprise crew, it is a very inclusive crew.
Yeah.
And I like that. It doesn't discriminate. I have heard Tarantino did not write the script to Star Trek. Mark L. Smith, who wrote The Revenant, and he also co-wrote Overlord, which was one of my favorite movies of 2018, and it was a war and horror movie mashup. I'm actually intrigued by that because I think Tarantino's signature dialogue will still come through. I think he is such a good writer, he can come up with stuff on the fly. And I think that will still be intact. But what intrigues me is Tarantino, a lot of his movies, and you and I have talked about this, have very bloated run times. And a lot of times it's not warranted. A lot of the Star Trek movies have been anywhere from 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So they're around the 2 hour range. And I am intrigued to just see him do a 2 hour movie that's lean and to the point. I love slow movies as much as the next guy, but I want to see him make a movie that's extremely lean again. The last, like Reservoir Dogs and I think Kill Bill Volume 1 was under 2 hours.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he hasn't played in the science fiction sandbox, and I want to see if he can tackle it. I think he can because he's a big fan of Star Trek. And if you are a franchise trying to evolve or, try to sustain yourself and make a profit and still remain in the hearts of your fans, why not get a talented filmmaker like Tarantino?
I don't even think he even steps foot in the sports field either. But then again, though, there's so many sport movies out there. What could Tarantino do that hasn't?
I'll be honest. Yeah, I'll be honest too. I don't think he'd want to because sports from what I've studied about him, sports was never a big part of his life.
I would like to see him tackle that.
Yeah.
But if you step back and think about it, what could Tarantino do that hasn't been done numerous times?
I think
and I would actually like to see him tackle a music movie actually.
like a
I would like
biopic or something.
Yeah, something like that. I would like to see him do
Yeah,
that.
I think
Have him do a movie on Elvis.
my John Carpenter did a movie on Elvis. It was a TV movie,
Oh.
and Kurt Russell played Elvis. So you might want to check that out.
Hey.
And it's pretty good. I've watched it. It's really good. That would be interesting because Tarantino is a big music fan. He loves music, and from what I've heard, he has a big collection of albums and stuff. And you can tell by his movies that he is a lover of music because he understands how music has evolved, where it was, where it went, and where it's going.
Exactly. Yeah.
So overall, you would like a wrestler type of movie. You would be interested in Django and Zorro, but also you'd be interested in him to tackle a actual music oriented movie.
Yeah, because really, I mean, when we think of music oriented movies, we think of Walk the Line.
It's one of the finest examples.
Exactly, Joaquin Phoenix. Perfect Johnny Cash style, and also too just the way he trained for that movie is outrageous. I would like to see him tackle something like, I don't know, it's just one of his music inspirations.
Yeah, something that he feels very much emotionally connected to,
Exactly.
that he can channel through the prism of film. I would say, of course, Star Trek's my number one, but here's the thing, guys, that I want to say. If he does any of this stuff, I'll be happy. Any of your recommendations, I would be more than happy. If he does Django and Zorro, I'll be happy. If he does that, kind of the World War II, African American oriented movie, I'd love that. I would love any of those choices. I think what's most important is that Tarantino does something that he is going to absolutely love doing. And Tarantino has shown that his projects are a labor of love. It's stuff he feels connected to. So guys, as we conclude this video, we're going to ask you, what do you think Tarantino should do? Please leave your feedback and comments in the comments section. Anything you want to say to close?
Actually, yeah. Going back to the musical movies that we would like to see make, one topic that just came to mind would be, why not do one on Dimebag Darrell?
Yeah, if he's into it,
because
sure.
Because from where Dimebag's life was cut short.
That would be interesting.
Why not do that? So yeah.
I'm into that. That
I
would
would
really
actually.
cool.
I would actually. I could really rock with that one. I would really rock with that.
All right, guys, let's just flood the internet with this recommendation because I'm in on it.
Yeah.
Guys, as always, we appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your support. It's to say that it's a blessing is a massive understatement, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And as always, please leave your feedback and comments in the comments section. If you have any questions, message our page, and we will get back with you as soon as possible. We love communicating with you guys, and as JR would say, rock on.
And if you're playing music and watching movies, what can go wrong?
That is very true. Guys, have a good one. We'll see you soon.